Yeah, this is Van, and he is my best friend. He's like my kid because I bottle fed him from his kitten, so he thinks I'm his mom. And he's never let me down like people, though. He won't, I know that. People stab you in the back, but Van's always watching my back. You know, and he won't let me down. He's a good cat.
See up there? Hey, yeah. Say, buddy.
I had my first dog when I was 5 years old. German Shepherd. I named him Ren Tin Tin after the television series, and from that point on, I've never been without a dog. You know, they just had a huge impact in my life.
Every cat I've ever had, I've adopted, and the two that I have right now, one I saved from a family that was going to have them put to sleep, and the other one, I was on my way to an audition, and I saw this little thing in the street, and I looked closer, and it was a little kitten that should not have been away from its mother. I took the cat to the vet, and it was mine after that.
I grew up having many pets as a child, but my most fond memories are having a dog in my life. One that I remember most was Freeway. And Freeway was adopted from our local shelter, and the reason why he got his name Freeway was because he was found near the highway. That was a really fond memory, and I miss Freeway.
Animals certainly have souls. They have some principle that, just like the human soul, gives them life. I think for many people, an animal becomes that human being that they want to have in their life. And so, hey, especially the elderly, they may have lost so many of their dear friends, and children are gone, what have you, but they have their dog or they have their cat.
Hey, baby, baby, come on. That's a good girl. Good girl. Good girl. They bring a feeling that you're alive, you're still something that they come in to see and love, and you pet them, and they cuddle up to you, and they make you feel good.
It just seems like we're always getting more animals in, no matter how many animals we are able to adopt out. There's still the need. It's not just that for us, not just the stray animals that we're picking up that aren't redeemed by their owners. It's also the owner surrendered animals, animals that were in a home, and for whatever reason, they can't be in that home any longer, and their owners are giving them up. And we find that every day we're getting phone calls from people that need to give up their animals.
This is Frankie, and he came from the City Pound in Harlem. And his fellow that owned him couldn't keep him because of his landlord. He brought him into a city shelter. He was terrified. They smell death, they smell fear, they smell sickness. I don't know if they didn't feed him or what, but he came to us as a skeleton. He's very thin right now, but this is after 3 meals a day in 3 weeks. They were going to put him down because they told me that he liked some people and other people he'd growl at and lower his head, put his tail between his legs. But based upon what she said, we knew that was just fear, and he didn't trust anybody. And as you can see, he's fine with us. He needs a little work with our dog trainer, and he needs to gain more weight, but he's let us clean his ears out and brush him out. And he ate $40 worth of fried chicken the first day. But we give, everybody gets chicken. New arrivals get chicken.
We take a lot of dogs primarily from the immediate area. We've taken them from the Bridgeport Pound, the Westport Pound, Norwalk Pound, Stanford Pound, Greenwich Pound. We also take a lot of dogs from the city pounds in Manhattan, the CHCC, the Center for Animal Care and Control. They put down an awful lot of dogs.
Euthanasias are an unfortunate but oftentimes necessary requirement of working in the animal care field. It's actually traditionally now coined as compassion fatigue. And that word right there, compassion fatigue, kind of does say a lot about exactly what is required of any of us that do perform euthanasia. So what we go through emotionally, physically, it's not only the person that actually holds the animal or does the injection of the animal, but it's actually the people surrounding those people. It's the decision maker, the person like myself, who's the ultimate decision maker to say who needs to be euthanized and who needs to live. Once they're in our shelter, if we do need to make that ultimate decision of euthanasia, that it's done in a humane and peaceful way. When I lament about it, as I get teary-eyed, it's probably better that I do. It's a large burden, but I'm certainly glad that I'm the one doing it as opposed to the animal suffering out on the streets, or as opposed to somebody doing it because the animal is a number.
Our organization is Mighty Mutts Animal Rescue, and we're responsible for rescuing stray cats and dogs in New York and all the surrounding areas. These animals have been through so much. We want to make sure they're going into really loving homes. We'll always take an animal back, and of course we're a no-kill shelter.
They have managed to place hundreds of animals in homes who would have otherwise been euthanized by now, or still existing in abusive or negligent situations. I can give you an example of an animal, was a pit bull named Buster, that was in their shelter for 3 years. And in a normal city shelter, an animal has a really limited amount of time, maybe 5 days to a week, to find a home before they're euthanized. So being cared for 3 years is something otherwise unheard of, and they were able to do that through fostering him out to homes who could take him for shorter periods of time until he found a permanent home. This dog is now with a family that loves him, a full permanent home. He's doing really well, and it's sort of a miracle success story.
I began this work with the junkyard dogs in 1999. That's when I first became aware that they were the root cause of overpopulation in New York City. Junkyard dog, most people think, is a dangerous, vicious dog. What a junkyard dog really is an unaltered animal, allowed to breed out of control onto the streets, and then those numbers spill into the city shelter. So what I do is I focus on spay and neuter of junkyard dogs. I formed an organization called the Spay Neuter Intervention Project, and we are sponsored by the ASPCA. They provide free services to us in terms of spay neuter. The DJ&T Foundation, which was founded by Bob Barker, and local organizations such as Art for Animals. And this is what we do. We go out and we spay and neuter the root cause of the junkyard dog.
I'm Ricky, and this is Van, my cat. We're homeless. He's been neutered, and he's got all his shots. And he just went to the dentist and had a root canal and a crown. Some friends of ours that help us, a lawyer, because we got robbed coming back from the Staples Center when he was about 3 months old, and he had to have his jaw wired. And they were going to put him to sleep because they didn't think it was $1,500 was too much. But my friend saved him, and they paid for the surgery. But he lost one of his teeth right here, his crown tooth, so he just had it fixed. Oh, man, there's a baby.
The word feral literally means wild, and the feral animals we most commonly deal with are cats, because cats are abandoned far more often than dogs are. And the feral cat population usually comes from either people's domestic cats who had kittens and the kittens get abandoned, or just kittens that are born in the wild.
The Central Connecticut Cat Project is a program we started to help us spay and neuter stray and feral cats. Most of the cats come from colonies that people are managing and feeding, and I'd say a good percentage are from the pounds also. We offer low-cost services to low-income families, people that are taking care of feral cat colonies. We offer free or at a discount. We also rent traps out for free, and we help people trap that haven't done it before. I think it's very successful. Today, you see we've done over 50 kitties today. And when you look at the percentages as to how many kittens can be born, it's astronomical amounts.
The
This is a really good spot here. Last year we got a few, 2 or 3 here. And this is also a good spot because this is where the lady used to feed them. And there's a stream that runs along here, and the cats, they hunt and they walk around here a lot. So this is a really good spot. So hopefully we will get a few today.
Hello again. Round 2?
This one's the last one right here.
I actually had a situation where these little kittens behind this shopping area were appearing continuously, and no one was doing anything about it. And I happened to mention it to a friend of mine who is the person who introduced me to Trap, Neuter, and Release, which is TNR. And I quickly learned the method of trapping, and we began doing it together. And since then, it's become something that I do almost every weekend.
It's okay.
There are more homeless animals than there are good homes for them. So what we determined our focus should be is spay and neuter so that you reduce the number of homeless pets. So that's how we deal with the issue of homeless animals, is just trying to stop the number. We encourage everyone who's a pet owner, everyone who has any awareness of the plight of homeless animals, to spay or neuter, dogs and cats alike. They can be done nowadays at an early age. You do not have to wait for your animals to come into heat or to be ready to reproduce. Do it before they reproduce so that we reduce the number of homeless pets.
One of my own dogs, he's a pit bull chow mix. He was found by Stanford Animal Control. He'd been hit by a car on 95. He'd run into someone's backyard, and he was fighting for his life. He thought people were out to kill him. They were trying to catch him, and he was so vicious and defensive that they had to crawl up on a roof and snare him with a rabies pole from a roof before anybody could approach him on the ground and get him. And he fought like hell, and they took him to the vets and they knocked him out, and he had a broken pelvis, and they also found out he had 2 bullets in him. And we later found out that he belonged to some drug dealer in town, and they had named him Tiger, and they used him primarily to fight. He had some horrible wounds on him. And we take other people's garbage, and we turn it into other people's treasures.
Hi, baby girl! Hi, baby girl! Hi! Oh, pumpkin, I missed you! I missed you! Just talking about you the other day. Oh, look at you! Look at how big you've gotten. Oh my goodness, look at how big you've gotten. Oh, you are so beautiful. I love you. Oh, she was the runt of the litter, and she came to us. She was found with other puppies, and she was found in an abandoned building. And when she came to us, she was about that big. She was very sick, and we didn't think she was going to make it. We took her home with us, and we nursed her back to health. And we didn't think she was going to make it. And she just got adopted out by this wonderful woman. And just to see her right now and see her full size, it makes all the work so worth it. She's beautiful. And seeing her just now, I'm going to start crying. Little puppy.
Ready? Yogi is a chow retriever mix, and he's 10 months old. He was found abandoned in an apartment in Manhattan. Very friendly.
Oh, look at Bubba. Oh, come on, Bubba. doesn't want to take Bubba home?
This is Bubba. He's 12 weeks old. He's an American Staffordshire Terrier. He's good with kids, cats, and people. He's very mellow, and I think he wants to be on the radio. This is Bubba.
All right, well, this is available for adoption.
City of St. Louis still uses a gas chamber, and I got a phone call one day from a supervisor at the city pound saying, "Hey Randy, I just gassed our normal lot of dogs today. I opened the chamber, everyone was dead, and standing on top of them was this brown dog wagging his tail. I don't have the heart to regas him." I said, "Don't worry about it, I'll be right over and I'll take him." He has his own book coming out in January called Miracle Dog, and it's about him, but it's also about the problems in our shelter system.
This is Comet, and Comet is a facility dog, and he is owned by the Jewish Home for the Elderly, and he visits residents on a daily basis, and Comet also comes to exercise programs and Hebrew classes and residence council and all kinds of activities. He goes once a week to rehab where residents will groom him. Asha has been trained for 2 years to be with as a facility pet or as an assistance dog.
Most of the animals that I have brought in and all of the other animals have been strays and found at different places, and they've all worked so beautifully.
There is a form of love that we see in the animal kingdom, and certainly so many of us human beings prize it when we know that, our pet dog or cat, whatever it is, loves us so much.
You pet them and you touch them and you talk to them and they respond. All of them respond so beautifully.
Okay, these cats were spayed and neutered. They were brought in Saturday. They had surgery yesterday. So spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and their ears were notched, so they're indicated as having been previously sterilized in case they get caught again.
My husband and I have been living in Manhattan for many years, and we went to Central Park one day, and we saw this little frail cat, and that was my first cat rescue. One thing my husband and I did after we moved to Connecticut, and we found that we were rescuing quite a few animals, we went out and purchased a small child's playhouse and had it put in our backyard, and we had it heated by an electrician, and we have a pet door, and those are for the feral cats that we have that we still haven't been able to pet. But they have a heated, warm shelter to go into, and they always manage at some point over the course of a few years to work their way into the house. It's just very rewarding. It's a wonderful experience to have these animals. Spaying and neutering is so very important. I can never emphasize enough to anyone who owns an animal, a dog or a cat, the importance of spaying and neutering. In the event, number one, that the animal gets out accidentally, it will start reproducing with other animals, and then it creates more and more of an overpopulation problem.
We are relocating some of the cats that were dumped and then offered a place on the farm. And unfortunately, owners irresponsibly changed their mind. After a year and a half, we had to retrap cats that were already trapped and relocate them, which is a very stressful situation. Thanks to a wonderful Samaritan, which is right here, Eileen.
Hello. Hi.
Thanks to Eileen. She let us put a shed which we insulated, and thanks to help of quite a few good people, we're able to find a piece of heaven right here on Eileen's property, and we're extremely grateful.
You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, look how beautiful I am. I am in abundance. Somebody dumped me. Yeah.
He's scared.
Yeah, but he's a good baby. He's a good kid. He's just scared. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Eileen.
all right.
You did it.
I'll be home till
It is
just till about
thanks
10
to
in the
you.
morning
You
tomorrow.
saved
so- Oh, you're more than welcome.
You saved a lot of lives.
An emergency phone call I received from my next door neighbor who discovered a litter of newborn babies. I rushed over there immediately, and one of the baby was not breathing. And immediately I did mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and all of a sudden baby started to breathe again. We were so happy she survived. And here she is, 8 weeks old, happy, healthy, and waiting to be adopted.
Hank is adopted from the Los Angeles Center for Animal Control, and he had 1 day left before being euthanized. And I adopted him in LA and flew him back to New York. And he was really skittish and afraid of me for a few days. I couldn't get near him. And now he's my best friend, and we're completely attached most of the time. And you know, I love him so much. He was 2 years old when I got him, and I'd love to know where he was and what he was doing in his life before I found him. And he has a great home with my family and our other dog now.
I had pets from as long back as I can remember. They have been a constant in my life. They're friends, companions. They teach you responsibilities, and they give you love. They're fabulous. I try to encourage people to spay and neuter their pets because it gives them a better quality of life. There's a problem with overpopulation as it is, so you can always save a cat, and if you can spay or neuter a cat, it just helps the process a little bit more, and every little bit counts. So I just try to let people know that it's a better way to go.
God loves everything He's created. And if you're doing something kind for an animal from a shelter, well, God bless you.
Not only will they make wonderful pets, but they will be totally loyal to you because you saved their life. You walk in there and they will love you. They will pick you out. You might think that you're picking them, but they will pick you out, and you will bring home an amazing pet that will last for years of enjoyment.
I started Spay USA in 1990, and it was in response to a trip to the Bridgeport, Connecticut Animal Shelter. I saw those cages with those beautiful faces in there, and a few days later I'd go back and those animals were dead. And I couldn't stand it. It was particularly the cats that bothered me, I think, but obviously the dogs too. And I realized at the time that the only way we were going to help these animals is to make sure that they weren't, future ones weren't born if they weren't wanted. It's as simple as that.
I think anybody who's looking to get a pet should seriously consider going into the local shelters in their area, primarily because there are wonderful animals. Everyone concentrates on getting a kitten or a puppy, but there are the most loving, full-grown cats and dogs who had a wonderful home, and now suddenly they're living in a cage. And many of these animals get euthanized. It's a modern-day Holocaust for animals.
There's many, many wonderful animals in shelters that are looking for homes. Some of them might be a little diamond in the rough and they need a little work, but they can be wonderful pets, and we want people to showcase that, to be able to walk the street and have a nice companion animal, and someone say, "Where'd you get that dog?" "Oh, I got it at the shelter."
That's the Bamster, and he ain't no damn hamster. He's a kitten. Basically, the way I got Van was him and 3 other kittens were left in a box in a parking lot that I live in a tent, and I found them. The other kittens didn't survive, and it's funny because he was kind of the runt of them. What he did, I went to Petco and got the baby formula. It's for kittens and all animals, and I bottle fed him. He thinks I'm his mom now. He won't sleep without touching me.
The most important thing when adopting a pet, in my opinion, is the lifelong obligation and commitment that it would require somebody to actually own a pet for that companion animal's entire life. A lot of people will adopt or get an animal as a young kitten and not realize that that animal could live 10, 15, 20 years.
I think people are health conscious about their dogs and cats because they have finally understood that there are ways to extend longevity, and because a lot of times people have not known how to do this in the past, and a lot of us have had some really tough experiences when we haven't been health enlightened. So I think people are bringing a new awareness into their own family of pets, and it's working.
The hardest part about training a dog
is trying to train the owners to teach them how to train dogs. And you know, the more they train the dogs, the better bond they have and the better relationship they're going to have with their dogs. And it's just really a wonderful thing. Once you have a well-trained dog, there's nothing better. I would encourage people to adopt their pets from the animal shelters. You know, they make great companions, and you know, they're wonderful pets.
Animals give to us what we hope and dream and desire that the human species will give us, but unfortunately we don't get that from other people, but we definitely get that from many of our companion animals.
Many pet owners continue to allow their pets to breed year-round. This leads to millions of cats being euthanized simply because there are not enough homes. It is overpopulation, it's not just a problem in this country. It is a tragedy.
I cannot stress enough how important spay-neuter is. Our cat population is so overwhelming.
It's going to continue this way. But most importantly, take a good look at that animal and realize that that animal found itself on the street through no fault of its own. Take pity on it. Try to help it. Try to save that animal's life.